Hello, everyone. It's Stefania here from Rise Above Your Limits. Today, I would like to tackle a very delicate topic that is a narcissistic disorder. I don't know how to say it, maybe the misfortune or the gift, the blessing, the learning, anyway, of having encountered several narcissistic people, narcissistic individuals in my life. And today I would really like to tackle this topic because I realized that at the time, I didn't know how to recognize them. And because once we are in this kind of connection with these individuals, we don't have power because we cannot even imagine, sometimes the level of cruelty, the level of manipulation and deceitfulness that can come from these people that are absolutely on the narcissistic disorder spectrum. So before I start to talk about my personal experience with these people so that I can let you know what kind of red flags you need to look for or expect when you are in touch with a narcissistic people, a narcissistic person, that can also be, you know, a partner, a parent, a sibling, a friend, a lover, or simply the occasional, you know, and casual encounter that you can have with people, you know, on your path in your life. So before I even start, as I said, let me describe narcissistic people with the obvious, probably. So narcissistic people are individuals that have a kind of a strong sense of entitlement in their life. They are full of arrogance. All the world basically revolves around them. So there is a very high, strong level of ego. They consider themselves good, especially good at something. Either it's intellectually or maybe it's a sport activity, but they praise themselves around certain skills a lot, and they brag about this, so that when you engage in conversations with them, one thing that you recognize that most conversation all revolve around them. And then they enter in that kind of phase with you as their target of attention, where there is a process of idealization, a process of devaluation, and then finally there is the last bit of discard that can also be followed up by a process of hoovering, like hooking you back in the abuse cycle of idealization, devaluation, and then discard again. And I want to talk about this unpleasant experience I had with a narcissistic person that I consider potentially as a romantic partner. And what happened, what I noticed at the beginning, that I couldn't recognize this as a narcissistic feature, because sometimes it's hard when we like someone, when we like somebody, we don't want to look for the bad signs or the red flags. Sometimes we prefer to be blindfolded because we want to believe in the goodness that these people somehow seem to offer us, right? So the first thing that this narcissistic person did in my life was a heavy process of love bombing or text bombing, you know, via text messages. So this connection started at the beginning, and this person, this guy, would send me constantly messages every day, making jokes, creating a connection, but the repeatedness of those messages at the same time every day really creates a kind of bonding with our brain, that when that the messaging stops, our brain, like almost as in an addictive cycle, starts craving that attention again. And that happens when we stop receiving that attention. That means that the idealization cycle stop, and then we feel the need to contact the person, the narcissistic abuser on the other side. And when I talk about abuse, can sometimes be just emotional or psychological, but trust me, the amount of effects and how debilitating it is to have this kind of connection at the really end, when we get out and we try really to look at the situation to understand what happened and how we feel about ourselves. That's the most important bit. Because as I always say in my videos, what other individuals do at the end of the day, it's their responsibility. But how we feel about ourselves and whoever we let in or out our life, that is our responsibility. So by recognizing these red flags, I really hope that next time you are around a toxic person, you can just see and say, well, this person actually presents these red flags. So it's better I slowly detach myself from this experience, from this life circumstance. So what I was saying anyway is like, there is when the love bombing stops, we tend to go back to receive that kind of attention. Imagine, like, I know maybe the metaphor is not the best one. It's like eating chocolate, right? At the beginning, we eat chocolate because it feels nice. But once we stop eating chocolate, the body craves, because sugar is like a drug. And a narcissistic person really tends to create that kind of addictive bond with their victims, because at the end of the day, they need a source of supply. Narcissistic people, as I said, they are animated by a strong sense of entitlement, lack of empathy. They cannot feel human emotions like most people do. They are very arrogant. The world revolves around them and they need attention. They are profoundly empty and unable to experience emotions, joy, pleasure in life. So basically, they walk through life by manipulating, by looking for sources of supply. And the only way they can find these sources of supply is through manipulation. And the manipulation, as I said before, happens exactly in that abusive cycle where they love bomb a person until the bond is addictive. They remove themselves from the conversation, so the other person craves their attention back. And then they start the devaluation process. They start maybe because through the love bombing, they got to know you. So this guy, for example, started to know pieces of myself, of my story, my vulnerabilities. And then when the devaluation process starts, basically they start sending you comments, even comments that feel like a joke, but they are so corrosive. And slowly, drop by drop, they aim at eroding all your self-esteem, all your self-worthiness. So what a narcissistic person needs to do in order to have a conversation with you is to reduce your power, to reduce your strength. Imagine that a narcissistic person walks through life with a completely empty cup. So they absolutely need other people to refill their cup, but they cannot declare their emptiness. So their fake ego, their fake charm, and also this kind of successfully personalities that they project, onto the world around them. So that creates a kind of cognitive dissonance in the victim's minds, because once the devaluation process starts, and you, like I did, we seek that attention back because the brain is primed with this kind of lack of sugar, lack of adrenaline, and we need to relieve that adrenaline, even if it's abusive. It's something that happens, and we need to recognize that our body has also got like biological processes that narcissistic people are extremely able to manipulate and use them at their own benefit, of course. So once the devaluation process starts, as I was saying, you start realizing that that attention is not available. And then what happens is, like, after the lowest point, when you feel like you are almost mistreated, right? They then start to giving you again a little bit of attention. So the best way to describe like a connection with a narcissistic person, it doesn't matter if it's a romantic or a non-romantic connection, it's like this kind of hot and cold behavior. Some days you are nothing for them, and other days they make you feel so special. and so much on the pedestal, like you are completely their center of attention. And that really, sorry for my French, but fucks up with our brain, because we are in front of a reality where we don't know what to believe. Our heart, of course, if we care about the other person and we see positive aspects in their personality, that, by the way, we believe these to be true, we tend, of course, between this cognitive dissonance, between the bad and the good, the hot and cold of these behaviors that come our way, we tend to, of course, bring our attention to the aspects of these people that we like, that we love, that we would like to see more in the other person. And that's human, that's super normal. So even though we are victims, what I would like to say over here, there's no reason why we should consider ourselves stupid at the end of the cycle, because being victim means that we have been manipulated. That means that the narcissistic person, throughout the love bombing part, at the real beginning of the abuse cycle, really gets to know our vulnerabilities, gets to know our inner aspects, our darknesses, and then uses this darkness during the process of devaluation. And then when the time has come that maybe he has found or she has found, because trust me, narcissistic people are, there is no gender for them. They can be men and women at the same level. So just this to say, that this is not a sexist video to say that only men, can present with narcissistic features. Then when the moment of the discard really happens, because the ego of the narcissistic individuals needs an audience, needs a stage, most of the sudden they will wait for the perfect moment to discard you, like a piece of garbage, like a piece of nothing in the world, because their main attempt after you serve them as their source of supply is to leave you with nothing. These are also called emotional, predators, for this very good reason. They've got an empty cup, and what they need from you, and as it happened in my life, they just need your attention, your validation, until maybe they find somebody else, or they decide that just for purposeless cruelty, it's the time to discard you. And then what happened to me is, like, sometimes in the middle of other friends, they would start act like I am nothing, like I'm invisible, like I'm not deserving of any attention. And that was really cruel in some moments. I couldn't really, and that's also why sometimes it's so hard to recover after being a victim of narcissistic abuse. It's so hard for you to come to mind that one day you are at the first place in their life, and they give you all the attention that you crave, that you want, that you need, and then the day after you are absolutely nothing. The cognitive dissonance is so strong that it takes really a long time before our brain comes to terms realizing that what they did, the good parts that we saw in them, these are absolutely fake. These are just a fake part to start the abuse cycle, as I've just described. So I remember that the time it came that I had this narcissistic person discarding me in the middle of a friend's reunion, and then later on I realized that these individuals who spread around the voice that I was the crazy one. I was the person that made up the story, that felt this crazy connection with him, but actually he on his side, he wouldn't feel that way, because maybe I wasn't the kind of woman that he would date or he would be involved with. So the pain with this connection that I felt myself is like that they make you, their attempt is making you feel absolutely worthless, absolutely nothing, like you are not worthy or valuable of any attention, of any kind of human consideration. And by doing so, by by labeling you, like he did with me, like as crazy, automatically they seek like in the social environment that you're exposed to, they seek validation, like they are the right ones and you are just the crazy ones. And it's so easy to believe them because it's only with us victims that they display their most corrosive, cruelty. With other people, they're absolutely generous, available, charming, sweet, kind, funny. So it's almost like they display these kind of beautiful human qualities that when you try to tell your version of the story, it's almost like if you go to them, the first reaction of a narcissistic person is, of course, to gaslight you and say it's all on your mind, you're crazy. And once they discard you in front of other people, the process of gaslighting, if the friends around you, they don't really know what's going on and are not able to validate you, not only you are, like I felt, already victim of an abuse cycle, but also you feel victim of being part of a friend circle that cannot see or cannot understand, cannot validate the abuse that I have been a victim of. So after the discard, there is also another cruel part that some narcissistic people can add to this already, vicious process. And this other part is the hoovering part. So what happens is, like, after they discarded you, they maybe can abandon you maybe for weeks, months, and then one day they wake up and they think they want you back. And so by doing so, even if they block you, on WhatsApp or on any kind of, social network, it arrives a time where maybe they unlock you. And if the door on your side is still open because maybe you still believe you're still in love with the fake, beautiful, successful, charming image they projected into the world, and between the cognitive dissonance of the hot and cold behaviors that they offer you, you may still, be open, to another try if you haven't discovered yet that actually these people are emotional predators and they're psychopaths that are only out there to seek a source of supply, and you're just a victim in the process, not a person that they really care about or they can really love, because a narcissistic person is not able to feel mostly any human emotion. They only feel this kind, as I said before, entitlement to stretch their hands and get whatever they want in their life, crossing boundaries, and never feel guilty or the need to apologize for what they're doing, like it's almost their birthright. And that's also what is really cruel, because they will never apologize unless it's part of their manipulative, way approach to get you back and to make you believe that you saw the wrong in them or it wasn't true. And that also happened to me with the same narcissistic person. He managed me to, after the first discard, he managed me to hoover me back, because by using triangulation, he offered me an explanation that other people may have misunderstood. And because he kept also offering me what I was really looking for in the connection, and in that moment of my life, I was looking for banter. I really loved, and I really love in my life, laughing and having laughter, around situations. So he started slowly to send me messages to tell me that actually he liked me, but he couldn't date me. So he again restarted these hot and cold behaviors. And again, I felt stupid that I kept the door open. But eventually, when the discard happened, so he love bombed me again through text messages, and then he started the devaluation process on and off. But even though I already had emotional experiences with narcissistic people, this time I didn't want to believe that, because somehow you need to also understand that not all narcissistic people have the same features. So sometimes you may think, oh, it's all in my mind, right? It can be that another time, another person is coming into my life to manipulate me. But trust me, the biggest lesson that I could gather, despite this, second time where he actually managed to hook me back and to restart the manipulative process, At the end, the discard was really cruel, really hurtful, really painful, and left me really, really worthless. I remember the pain of being in bed for one day, feeling absolutely nothing. Like he treated me, he abandoned me in the middle of the group at the end of the night, of a long night, together with his friends, and with any sense of care or understanding or willingness to speak, but just denying and gaslighting me and stonewalling me if I wanted to have a conversation, to the point that his friends told me I was the crazy one and I just had to leave because I misunderstood the situation. So there wasn't not just the pain of being discarded like a piece of garbage by the narcissistic people, but what they create is a kind of smearing campaign around you, like you are the crazy one, like he made me feel like I was the crazy one. So let me tell you what helped me at the end of that final abusive narcissistic cycle. It helped me that, yes, I could touch the deep and excruciating and painful lack of self-worth in myself, because I could feel that he left me with nothing. If he treated me like that, it meant I am nothing. So that was the belief it was running in the background of my mind for an entire day. And this, I have to tell you, happened after many, experience with narcissistic people. So sometimes I believe, the universe, God, or whatever entity you're referring to, is bringing individuals into our life until we master the lesson. So sometimes when a narcissistic comes into our life, it's not because we are stupid, it's not because we are bad or we are deserving of that specific situation, that specific abuse. Of course, we don't need abuse and we shouldn't have that. But sometimes life, it is what it is, right? At the end of an excruciating experience, we are left with two choices. On one side, we are the victims because they manipulated us and we weren't aware of that. We didn't know that was happening. And if we are in love, it's even more painful because it's hard to let go of the kind of fake image that we idealize in our mind related to the narcissistic person. But on the other side, we can decide if we want to stay like victims and keep on missing and keep on looking for the narcissistic person. And we can come across very heavy questions about ourselves. Do we deserve to have a narcissistic person really treating us like garbage? So one bad thing about a narcissistic person is like they try to reduce you to nothing. It doesn't matter how much strength you've got at the beginning of the relationship, at the beginning of these encounters, these connections, you are always left feeling miles away from who you truly are, from your true identity, from your authenticity. So sometimes I think thanks in a quite ironic way to these very cruel and pathological individuals, I was left with real nothing. But by touching that nothing in my being at all layers, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, literally feeling like nothing, I could feel a sense in myself that there must have been something more about me to be the reason to be in this world, and that just a better cruel person couldn't have the power to reduce me to nothing. So when I talk about this power, it's because once we have been victims, and nobody can take that away from us, if we are surrounded by people that are not capable to validate our suffering, our pain as victims of narcissistic disorder, it's our commitment to walk away. Maybe they are not ready to know the version of the story, maybe they will never be, but it's our right to be surrounded by empathic people, empathetic individuals that can really understand, nurturing and protecting us on the road to recovery from narcissistic abuse. But the choice to take our power back, it's because whatever the narcissistic did or tried or attempted at doing with us, it cannot have the power of how we feel after we leave his or her abuse cycles. So once we are back in our life, it's our commitment to resolve that lack of worthiness. Maybe it's part of our story. Maybe it hasn't ever happened before. And that's okay either way. But the fact that we experience the lack of worthiness in that moment, that means that there are elements of ourselves that surface in that situation. And it's our task, it's our responsibility to look at these elements, because we need to own those pieces of our story and find a way to rewrite them. We need to channel the pain of those abuses into creating something meaningful with our life. It can be starting a new activity. It can be devoting yourself to look for your life purpose, or to changing your tribe, or to connect with other victims of narcissistic abuse. But the only thing is, like, don't give up on yourself. Don't give up just because the narcissistic person made you believe that you are nothing. It doesn't mean that you are nothing. So by breaking the abuse cycle, it normally takes 90 days where you are supposed to go no contact, just to heal the trauma bonding that affected your brain with this kind of hot and cold behaviors that they offered us, that creates a state of need, of craving the attention. We think it's love, but it's just, unfortunately, a pathological attachment that we develop around the narcissistic person, because we want, because the good and the bad are offered at the same time. So we tend to associate love with bad things and good things coming as a reward. And this really wires our brain in such a toxic and manipulative way. That's exactly the kind of road that a narcissistic person wants to take, because that's the only road they can take to really have a conversation with us. They are absolutely empty human beings that they need, as I said before, a source of supply. They can be attention, admiration, love, care, whatever they need. They want to get it, and they don't care if the means are absolutely toxic and abusive and manipulative. But it's our task, once the abuse cycle is over, to really recover by devoting our attention in activities, people that can rebuild our identity. And I tell you what, after being a victim of many narcissistic like encounters, relationships, unfortunately, and even childhood experiences that came back to memory that I didn't realize how much they affected me, I realized that I always had the power to rise from my own ashes. I always had the power to restart again. But I had to make a conscious decision, find that love inside my heart, inside myself, for all the good things that I've done in my life so far, that I deserved better. Because the moment we make the conscious choice that we have been victims, I have been a victim of narcissistic abuse, and I'm not scared to tell you, I'm not scared to admit it to the world, that I didn't see that coming. I didn't maybe sometimes want to see the red flags, and that's okay. I came to terms with that. I came to understand and accept that that happened. And sometimes we say it is what it is, right? But at the end of the many cycles I experienced, there was like a voice inside myself that wanted to scream, wanted to speak, wanted to express a new way of being in the world. Because sometimes the best revenge towards a narcissistic person is not a reaction, it's finding in ourselves our own source of being happy, being proud, being successful, feeling worthy of who we are, of our internal inner capabilities, of making our life the best possible masterpiece. So this is quite a long video. I really hope you enjoyed and you started to understand how a narcissistic person operates in order to get from you what they need. This is not love. This is not a healthy connection. And the best possible way is to highlight the red flags that you find in this toxic connection and slowly walk away, go no contact, at least for 90 days, and trying to refocus, re-bring the attention into your life, around yourself, to create nurturing, to create a place for nurturement, love, safety, and protection for yourself, to embark on your personal healing journey. Again, as I said, to make your life the best possible masterpiece. I send you my love, and I also leave underneath this video my contacts, because for any victim out there that feels the need to talk, I work now as an empowerment coach. The first session, the first hour together is always free. And I'm more than available to offer a free consultation to anybody that really needs to talk. And then we can see if there is a way through the techniques I use to find a strategy to allow you to find your way back into your life. I send you my love, a big, big hug to you all. And I will talk to you with these videos very soon. Bye.